Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, to Scarves and Spikes. Tyler and Sydney here with you guys for what is about to be essentially a third of the way through the MLS season. Sydney, how you doing? Besides being muted. Oh, we're coming in hot today.
Good start. No, it's insane. You know,
It's wild.
I think we were just talking about it the other day. Like we're already, 11 matches in, except for Miami and the team that escapes you at the moment. Already 11 matches in, Tyler. It's pretty incredible. I feel like we just started this season. Like
Yeah, me
2
too.
weeks ago.
It feels like yesterday I was down in Florida for the preseason, or we were out in Birmingham or Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy how quickly
Yeah.
things are flying by. And unfortunately, where Atlanta United is at in the standings on May 7th, 2025.
I would say time flies when you're having fun, but things have not been fun at Atlanta United land, as
I'm
everybody
straight up
knows.
not having a good time.
Yeah. Hopefully that changes against Chicago. We'll talk about that obviously a little bit later. I know we have Neil Sika from MLS Season Pass joining us. He'll be calling the match as Atlanta United travel to the Chicago Fire. I do want to clarify the record, Tyler, real quick before we get started.
Clarify.
So I said the other day that Brad Guzan might be playing his final match in Chicago, and there's an insinuation that he would retire after or be benched for the rest of the season after the Chicago match. But the point I was trying to make is he is from Chicago, family up there. Obviously, it could be his final match in the Windy City, barring playing Chicago in the playoffs. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Makes sense.
I don't have any inside information about his status or
no ill will
or not.
towards
No
Goose
will
here.
intended.
Unlike somebody in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, he's been around forever, and I think the saying goes, familiarity breeds contempt. And it's just Brad knows more about the game than any of us have forgotten in our entire lifetimes, right? And it's easy to kind of point fingers to say, oh, he's the reason why Atlanta's losing, or they're the reason why Atlanta's losing. I think it's tough to just point to one person and say, hey, this is why this is happening. And to me, it's a little bit unfair to Guzan in some respects, to point at him and say, hey, he has to go because Atlanta United has been losing and failing to win over these past few matches. If it were as simple as that, don't you think Ronnie Dyla would have made that change? So that's just kind of my 2 cents on the entire issue. I don't think you just bench Guzan, to quote unquote spark the team. He's your keeper. He's your captain for a reason. Maybe he needs to change some things with his approach. I don't know. But look, I mean, yes, he's not performed well, but neither has the rest of the team. So just my 2 cents on Brad Guzan.
Yeah, the team kind of has been up and down. At least that's the one thing they're doing as a team is being up and down.
Yeah. No kidding.
When things have not been great. I mean, it's been a struggle for everybody. It really has. And so, yeah, I'm not concerned with Brad Guzan. Brad has made more than a handful of spectacular saves this season that's kept them from being even worse off than they already are. So
it would have been 3-1 probably Nashville without some big saves that he made.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'll give the shout out to Luis Abram. He had a big moment in the second half. I think it was the second half. That just, it kept things tight.
Yeah.
It kept things from getting out of control. So
yeah.
Quick shout out team, saying he's up at the Star Wars night up at Truist Park.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Hey to everybody else, but also he brought up one really, really good point.
Henry graduated.
Yeah, Henry. Well, I
Kennesaw
think
State
his actual
University.
graduation is coming up in a couple of days, but
Well, he's done.
he's done. He's done with all of his schoolwork. You know what I really need you to do in the background here, Sydney,
What?
as we talk?
What?
I need you to pull up the pictures so that we can put them on blast on YouTube. Especially the one where it appears that Henry is looking into your soul.
Well,
We're going to
I
give
would
him a
want
hard
his
time this
permission.
week.
I want his permission before he posts.
He put him on Twitter. He gave permission. He gave permission. You don't have to ask him. He'll never know.
Yeah.
For real,
We'll
congrats to Henry. Y'all know Henry is a super talented, super amazing person.
Yes.
Writer, everything else. He is
Yes.
well on his way to doing great things. And, congratulations to
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Still gonna share
I learned something about Jay Fortune, by the way, as we kind of roll into it. Jay Fortune, growing up, was scared of dogs, apparently. I mentioned that is because they had therapy dogs at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground on Tuesday. And Henry was there in training. He posted videos. I think he got to interview a couple of the dogs as well. The dogs didn't say much, as you might imagine. I guess they're kind of camera shy.
Just a little bit. Maybe they don't run their mouth too much.
Yeah.
They keep it close to the vest.
Yeah. And that was the case the other day. But Jay Fortune said he's not the biggest dog guy. Growing up, he wasn't the biggest dog guy. He was scared of him as a kid. And as he got older, he started to lose that fear, he said, and he's more comfortable with them. So little tidbit about Jay that we learned from training the other day. So
here are the dogs.
I did not know that.
Here they are. Look at those cute little dudes or dudettes. Yes. I'm not really sure.
Yes.
Look at him giving an interview.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh, look, I'm scrolling down. Oh no, there might be pictures here.
There might be. Well, we have to.
Oh, dang it.
We have to, of course, for our folks listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. This is Henry did tweet these out, and you guys can't see it, obviously, listening to the show. But yeah, they were cute. They were cute guys.
Yeah,
golden retrievers.
And quick sidebar.
Yes.
What it takes to the training that goes into a therapy dog is absurd.
Yeah.
Absurd to get a dog to that
sure.
level of training in anything that you do with a dog. It is a big deal, and it is a massive undertaking. So, but to see them, they do amazing things for kids up at all the children's around Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they're a vital part of that team. And also, it does tie into the mental health awareness month and everything else that's going on that Brad Guzan talked about, that he's got a lot kind of irons in the fire with this month. He's got a lot of stuff going on with it. So just really, really cool moment. And honestly, I think maybe the team needs it.
Yeah, it's good if Atlanta United wins. I mean, you got to bring him back every single week, right?
100%. 100%. If it works, we'll change it.
But just going back to Jay Fortune spoke and Matt Edwards spoke, and Jay talked about that connection that he's building with Pedro Amador. Pedro, I think, was supposed to talk on Tuesday, wasn't available ultimately, but he talked about it's been a good connection with him, and with him playing right now, Tyler, on that left wing, at least for the time being. Of course, we don't know what the team will do in the summer. Maybe bring in a left winger, but right now he's the guy at left wing. It seems like maybe Luke Brennan will get some time there. Maybe Edwin Mascaro will get some time there. But right now, as far as starting left wing, Jay is the guy. They say he's starting to get more comfortable there. And you've mentioned it too, right? It's not his first time playing left wing. He's played it with the twos, pretty much played all over with the twos, except goalkeeper. But yeah, it's he started to get comfortable there, and he's not been bad. He's not been bad. I mean, he almost had a couple of chances. Well, not almost, but he did have a couple of chances against Nashville. Couldn't really get them in the right spot, get the ball in the right spot. But I'm not gonna say he's best 11 left winger, but you could do a lot worse at this point. At this point, certainly. I mean, what are your thoughts on him from what you've seen so far?
First of all, everybody in the chat, stop talking about Arsenal. Don't
Yeah,
even
Arsenal lost, by the way.
freaking
They're out.
topic.
It's
Ugh,
PSG and Inter Milan in the
whatever.
Champions League final.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think so. I'm going to fix this team right now. All right. Jay Fortune needs to be starting right behind Alexei Miranchuk in midfield. And you need to put Luke Brennan on the left to start for a variety of reasons. Jay Fortune kind of becomes your break glass in case of emergency kind of guy, your midfielder who, because he's young, he's quick, he has the legs to go full 90 if he needs to.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk to guys, we've had them on. Michael Parkhurst has said it.
Yeah.
Max McCarty said it. They see the upside in this kid. The ceiling is way higher than I think even all of us maybe see. Because when you have guys that interact or have interacted with him on a significant basis, like behind the scenes, for them all to be saying that kind of stuff, that is massive. So,
and Dax McCarty too.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of times last year,
Parkhurst, there's a lot of them, and so put him out there, because my biggest issue in the past couple of matches has been the lack of speed with Click. Click started in this game. I think Click is a guy that you want to have come in the 30 or 40th minute. I'm sorry, with 30 or 40 minutes left. Not randomly in the 40th.
42nd minute.
Yeah. But no, I think you get a lot more out of Jay if you can keep him in the middle, because even in this, Atlanta was playing kind of a 4-4-2 to where he wasn't just a left winger. He was floating back inside as a midfielder, slightly helping out, in the build up. I mean, and then Zilf asking, who do you play at left wing? Dude, at this point, throw Luke Brennan over there, please.
Yeah.
Put Luke Brennan over there. If you're going to stick to where you're going to have a traditional left winger and not a, like kind of like we were talking about 4-4-2 or 3-5-2 or something, to where you can maybe push Pedro up on that left. Luke is going to come in there. He's going to run his mouth for 60, 70 minutes and piss everybody off. He's going to give you effort. He's not going to stop trying 100%. So then when you've got 20, 30 minutes left, that's when you bring on Edwin Mosquera until he goes back to Colombia, apparently, and goes to Millonarios or whatever he wants to do. And let him come in and run hard and fast like he does, because Edwin Mosquera, the entire time he's been in Atlanta United, he is at his best, and he actually scores goals when he comes on in the final, few minutes.
Yeah.
He's running at tired legs. Let him do that, because right now, you don't have Shonda. Jay has been practicing and training as a midfielder for the past 2.5 years. You want him over there. So, and we're talking about, we're not going to do any worse. Dude, let the kid play. Let the kid play.
Yeah, but you have to pick your spots, though. I mean, you can't just throw him into any old situation. I mean, you certainly can't put him there against Miami. I don't know if the mo's going to be too big, I feel like, for a guy like Brennan to play against Miami or something like that. So you honestly have to pick what?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I he's not young, but I mean, the inexperienced. You need a more reliable option there. Whether that's, I don't know. Do you start?
That's the thing.
Wink. I mean, that's we're not paid to do that. We're not paid to talk about that. That's front office.
Reliable at left wing in years, if we're being honest. I mean, you haven't had a reliable left winger in a long time at Atlanta United, and so
just like Tito, right?
I mean, look, Justin Miram was good. All right, Justin Miram was pretty solid when he was here. But I mean, I think, again, you're not going to do worse. And you talk about throwing these guys into the fire. Luke Brennan was squaring up against dudes in 2021 that were way older than him. And I always like Luke Brennan. I compare him to, hey man, Zilf, don't get me started on Moreno. I always compare Luke Brennan, his mental game and his mouth. and the thing is so annoying about this is the fact that like you could tell him this and he probably wouldn't even understand the reference.
Yeah.
Luke Brennan is like 2006 Xbox Live Halo lobby. Like the kind of trash talk that he's going to run
Explain what that means.
is just going to get under your skin and irritate you. Like I mean, I know you weren't as into it as I was, but like you grew up in a time back then where these
was very
people on
live when that
Xbox
came
Live,
out.
it's like Call of Duty. They're running their mouth so much, saying the worst things imaginable. I'm not saying Luke is that bad, all right. But what I am saying is Luke, he's going to chirp, he's going to run his mouth, he's going to get under the skin. He also is not going to stop running. He's not going to, give up. You've put young guys in against big talent before. Give Luke Brennan some runouts, man. Just see what happens.
Yeah, but you need a guy to more than chirp and get under the other team's skin, though, right? You need somebody who can come in and build that chemistry with Pedro Amador. Pedro's shown that he's a quality left back. If you put Luke Brennan back there, can he build that relationship with Amador? Can he build that relationship with Latte Lot? So I think that's the most important thing. Yes, he plays with an edge, and yes, that's fine, but he needs to show the quality needed to see the field. I know he's getting time with the twos, and that's good. But I'm not saying I'm not in favor of it. But I mean he has to show that skill, has to show that talent to show, hey, I belong at the first team. It's different than obviously MLS Next Pro. So
yeah, I mean for sure. But again, almost out of necessity, who else do you put over there? Because I think Jay, I think you're wasting his capabilities over there. I really do. I think, yeah, I mean, this team has a history of converting random players to left wingers and left backs, and it's not that it won't work.
So who's your midfield pairing right now? You said you put Fortune in the midfield. Who do you put next to him? Do you put Sleesh back there next to him, or
no? Y'all put See, so this is where we get real detailed.
Right.
I'm still putting Miranchuk, but I'm putting him ahead of Jay. I want Jay to be I want him to become that bulldog number 6.
Yeah.
That defensive midfielder that is because he'll run his mouth too, to be fair. He'll get under people's skin, but I want him to be the guy that comes in I want him to be a more athletic and more consistent Franco Ibarra.
So we do William Baugh too.
Yeah.
William Baugh.
You do have William
Baugh. You're
Baugh.
pretty deep at that position.
Yeah, but he's also so inconsistent. That's the problem, I think, with Tristan. And Tristan does fit all the boxes for what you need there, except for the fact that one game he'll look amazing, and then the next game it's just like a total flip-flop. Yeah. So, no, give me Jay back there. He wants to be there. He is, let the kids play, and then Renan Chuck in front of him to let him kind of be the guy that dictates the entire tempo and control of the game.
And then Luke at the left, or?
Huh?
And then Luke Brennan at the left, are you saying?
Luke Brennan on the left.
I mean, what about Mascara at the left? Or are you committed to just bringing him in as a late game?
I just think he's more effective as a, final 30-minute kind of guy or final 20-minute kind of guy. And again, you've got guys that like the left wing position, if I'm being honest, is the problem on this team, and it has been forever because
one of many.
you like it all revolves around that left wing, because I think if you had a consistent, legit left winger, a lot of the other problems that we complain about and that we see with, the midfield and who's going to play as the 10 and all that kind of stuff, I think it gets solved if you have somebody that's consistently a threat on the left-hand side. Because everybody that Atlanta's had for so long, you haven't had a vertical, I'm going to run to the, the inline kind of left winger in a long, long time. Everybody wants to cut inside. Everybody wants to kind of drop into that space where you're expecting Miranchuk or Miggy or back in the day, Almada, whoever to be. And I just think you've got to get somebody over there that is a true attacking threat that's going to be scoring goals. And the guy that I think we all thought Shande Silva was going to be.
Right.
So if you can solve that problem, I think the rest of the stuff, I don't want to say it falls into place, but it becomes much easier to manage.
Essentially, it's duct tape. duct tape and screws right over there on the left wing, right? I
Yeah.
would like to think that that's going to be a priority. Maybe bring in a TAM left winger or pull a trade for a TAM level left winger who can produce consistently, like Silva wasn't able to do. But then you have, that little selection dilemma. You have Fortune, you have Miranchuk, you have Slish, you have William Ba, you have Riley waiting in the wings. You have Cleek. So you have six midfielders, obviously either 6 or 8, that you have to think about, hey, how can you get these players on the field? Like Cleek, I mean, the amount of money you're paying him, I'm sure, and we'll wait to see what the roster number is in a few weeks. Yeah, I don't know if you take him out the field, but unfortunately, he's just not been fit. He's just not been able to put it all together just yet. I don't know if you're going to trade him at this time or buy him out. It's just too early. But what do you do with him? I mean, it's just it's a little bit of a selection quandary at that midfield. At the same time, you have to keep Jay Fortune on the field at all times. I mean, he's one of your best players. He really is, and you have to fight any way to keep him on the field. If
He's
it's
got a lot
left
of room
wing,
to grow.
yeah, no, absolutely, he's not perfect by any stretch, but you have to find any way to keep him on the field. And right now, left wing is it. So at least until the transfer window opens up. But he's saying, "Look, I need to try to find ways to improve my play in the box and finish." He was saying that yesterday in training. So hopefully he improves. He did say, I want to throw something out there too. Jose Prosopio from Latingolas asked him, where do you feel you play the best? And Jay said, I played in the midfield my whole career. He said, it'd be smart for me to stay in the midfield. But he said his dad wanted him to just be comfortable anywhere in the field. So his preference certainly is the midfield. He's just come right out and said that.
Yeah.
But now, if you keep in the midfield again, that gives birth to who do you put in the left wing? Is that Luke? Is that Mosquera? Is that Togashi? Which is the name that's being thrown out around as well. Yeah. So
I'm telling you, I want to see Togashi play.
Someone that's good, someone that's consistent.
Please let Togashi play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing about Jay, like you said, he is a well-rounded player. He's got so much upside, and I mean, I just think with the heart that he shows, and with the Noah Cobbs, the Dominique Chanquise, I see some people in the chat saying, put him at left wing. Dude, I'm not mad at any of that, because again, at this point, are you gonna do any worse? No, you're not. Yeah. You're really not. Like, we can sit here and talk about, oh well, they could lose 3-0, 4-0, whatever. Like, who cares? A loss is a loss.
I mean,
let kids play.
You're not at that point where you just throw kids out there. Like,
I'm not saying put all the kids out there though, but
no, I know
you have a position that is in shambles, and I mean, it's on Ronnie Dyla at this point to continue to try things until he finds whatever works. And right now, I mean, I think you've got some things that you can hold on to, but you haven't found 90 minutes of soccer at all this entire season.
Yeah.
Not one time has this team played 90 minutes of good soccer all season.
Yeah.
Try something different, even if that means putting on a 19-year-old.
I mean, they're facing backup keeper on Saturday. I mean, Brady got shown a red card in his last outing, so maybe that's the key that unlocks things for Atlanta United.
Hey, and
at this point, you can take anything you can get at this point, right?
You got to test them. You have to test the goalkeeper. I mean, I don't care if there's shots from 25 yards out or what. Like, you need to make him earn his paycheck on Saturday. So yeah, I mean, this game is all about momentum, right? And it seems like
neither team has it.
Yeah, well, and Atlanta's struggled to have momentum for a long time. Yeah. It always seems, we always make the joke about Atlanta would get on kind of a good roll, and then there would be an international break and it would all fall apart.
Right.
But I mean, if they can go and they can snag a win away from home, there's confidence there. Yeah. Then you You get another one behind that, and all of a sudden, like you got 6 points. You see yourself, kind of making moves, and it's like, all right, well, maybe we can freaking do this. And we talked about it on MLS Monday. Look at New England right now. Dude, Caleb Porter had one butt cheek off the seat. He was gone. Like he was about to be.
Seat was on, like it was like
he was cooking.
Burnt like
the bad
500 degrees on broil setting.
Yeah, he was done. And they played Atlanta, which is so frustrating. Yeah. And then they've done it since, killing it. Because they finally figured out the way that works for them.
No, but you look at two teams who are just desperate for anything. Chicago, can't buy a win at this point. They've got 7 or 6 in a row winless after a 3-match winning streak. Atlanta, we all know about them, obviously. So it's a battle of two teams who are just grasping for anything at this point. Yeah, and you mentioned Atlanta United. I mean, Chicago Fire fans have been just looking for anything for what, the past better part of the decade. I mean, ever since Schweinsteiger left, they haven't had anything at all to hang their head on. Yeah, they came in this year. Greg Berhalter came in this year, and they started out pretty good for them. They lost their first match, drew their second match, and then won 3 in a row. Most recently against Vancouver. That's Vancouver's only loss in MLS play right now. Since then, draw, loss, draw. Including 7-2 against Nashville. So they're kind of adrift below the playoff line at this point, and just looking for anything to snap that momentum or grab that momentum. Sort of like New England, like you just said. All it takes is, I feel like it's just one win where you can say, hey, we did this. We know what it takes to win now. Let's go on a little run here. It gives ourselves a chance to move up the standings. Yeah. Hopefully that happens for Atlanta United on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're in a position now where Chicago, like they're giving up goals left and right. Now, they are scoring them. Some of their games have become like some wild ones. We keep talking about the 7-2.
Play that wild 0-0 draw against Orlando City.
Yeah. But you've had the 7-2 Nashville, then you had the 3-2 against Cincinnati. There was that 0-0 Miami one. Then you had 2-1 against the Red Bulls. So, I mean, like, goals are to be had at this game for sure. Yeah. And it's not that Atlanta can't come out on the good side of this. They absolutely can. And I think, because I'm going to get on this tangent after Neil Sika comes on in a little bit.
Yeah.
But they can't play the type of soccer they did for about 65 minutes on Saturday. They can't do that anymore. They did not control the tempo after they went up a goal. They're at home, up a goal, and you completely turned everything off and shut down.
Right.
You can't have that. You have to control the game. And that's easier, obviously, at home than away.
Right.
But if I'm Ronnie Dyla, now there's a lot of things that he's working on, but that's one of those things, that's a point of emphasis that I'm looking at. Like, what happened 5 minutes after that goal went in? Because it was brutal.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say really quick, y'all go visit scarvesandspikes.com for all of our articles, Atlanta United news, analysis, opinion. We got Twos articles going up on there. The Twos had a pretty good game the other day. And snagged a couple. So go check out the website, go check out the shop, go to patreon.com/scarvesandspikes and go join the Patreon, get in. We got tons of content going up on there as well. And a quick shout out to our good partners, Sweetwater Brewing. You'll go visit sweetwaterbrew.com to check out their Rowdy Peach IPA, which is the Atlanta beer, and their variety of other beers that they have, which are amazing.
I was just looking through the website right now. We have the 420 Extra Pale Ale, the Atlanta's OG IPA, the Going Coastal IPA, 420 Citrus Haze. They have a Gummies Tropical and Gummies Fruit Punch IPA.
I will say this, and we'll get Neil in. The gummy pack, if you've never had it, try it. It's really good, but be careful.
Yeah, just
be very careful.
Drake and imbibe responsibly.
Moderation.
Everything in
Those things are like
moderation, please.
9.5% alcohol,
Gosh.
and they will sneak up.
Be careful. Don't drink and drive, by the way, please.
Yes, please don't do
Seriously. Don't drink
All
and
right, now
drive.
we got that out of the way.
Should we bring Neil in?
Without further ado, yes. Neil Sika, everybody. What's going on, man?
Neil.
Hi, Sid. How are you guys?
Good. You doing all right?
Back.
I'm great. Good to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's my Cleveland guy? Where's
Dude,
Tommy?
I know.
I was just about to say, we were talking beforehand, and I was like, "Oh, you get to talk with your Cleveland buddy again."
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, so I guess it's been raining nonstop up there for like a week.
Yes.
And he was like, "This is the only day I have to cut my grass. My grass is taller than one of my dogs right now. I have to go cut my grass because it's the only time I've had." And I was like, "Hey, I get it, dude. Do what you got to do." So,
Yeah.
Raining.
Yeah, let me.
Raining. We could have bitched and moaned about the Cavaliers and the night. Yeah, it was brutal.
I know. I was just gonna bring that up, but you already did. So we'll see. We'll see if they can turn the deficit. I mean, it's 2-0, 2-0. We'll see if they can go to Indy, turn the deficit, and take home court back.
They can, although it's not a great look when Indiana's best player is playing with one arm, and three of the Cavs' best players are, who am I to say anything about injuries? But they're sitting there clapping it up, having a good time on the bench. Tough it out. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes.
Yeah.
And there's a new where is it? Is it the new NHL team or new hockey team that's coming up somewhere around there?
You're speaking of Cleveland?
No, maybe it's not Cleveland. What was which city just got the
it's the
Mammoth?
It's the Utah Mammoth.
Oh, forget it, dude. I'm
the Mammoth.
Why was I thinking that was somewhere in Ohio?
Yeah.
The
Blue Jackets, though, in Columbus gave the Eastern Conference a scare. They almost snuck in. They were a wonderful story. But
yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things to wax poetic about. I was listening to you guys talking about the many issues right now with your team right now, which should make for a compelling game on Saturday because both teams need a win.
Yes. Yeah. So, we're just talking about Chicago. Both they came in, or Burrold came in, lost and drawn their first two matches, won 3 in a row, including against Vancouver. Vancouver's only lost in MLS play. Now 6 winless. So these are teams that at this point are looking for any momentum at this point to really turn their season around.
Yeah, Chicago's definitely in a rut. And that last win was the international break. I mean, it was a while ago for them. And I was watching that game. Vancouver was missing. This is how good they've been. I mean, they were missing 7 starters.
Yeah. And
that game was 1-1, and it ended up 3-1, and they added a couple of late goals because they were going for it. I mean, they were hammering them. But, that's the way the game goes sometimes. But they have been – I had their Minnesota game a couple of weekends ago, Vancouver, with the heavy rotation, and you just had the tragedy in the city. And they were incredible in the second half once they put the starters on. I think everyone has seen that, the way they played in the Champions Cup and balanced it. We saw Columbus do that a little bit last year too, with the success in the regular season and then getting to the finals. So, not to go off topic, but Chicago, I like how they've formed their identity under Greg, but I don't think they've fixed what they need to do defensively yet. And it's not just the Nashville game as an outlier. People are kicking the ball long on them, and look at the play last week that led to the red card on Brady. They still struggled. They're still solving the center back equation. So I think from Atlanta's perspective, they should be chomping at the bit with this attack to get going. But boy, it's not like there haven't been chances. You guys know that. It's just what's the personnel fit that's finally going to get this over the finish line. And I think you brought up the New England game. You guys were talking about that. And it's funny how this league, you have a little moment here. Look, their highest expected goals, Atlanta's this season, was in that game.
Yep.
They had 19 shots. I mean, they were right on top of them. That could have been a 2-3-0 game early in the first half. It wasn't. And now look at the directions of where both teams have went. And there was a little formation change too. Caleb Porter swallowing his pride a little bit. isolate Carlos Heel. I just had their game in Toronto. Now Toronto is where they are for a reason right now. But
Yeah.
they were magnificent though in the midfield and control and play with Yusuf and Polster and Heel and Campana are shining. And all it takes is one. So from Atlanta United's perspective, you've got two games here where Chicago's wobbly. I've had a lot of Austin games. They're tough at home, but it's like there's bags of money all over the fence. There's going to be a lot of bags of money on the field there with the attacks and maybe the underwhelming performance. One of these two games are there for the taking to win, even though they're on the road. And I think it could start them in the right direction because, boy, you look at – not to get too far ahead of the schedule, right? But look at what they've got. The next three at home against contenders in the East, Philly, Orlando, Cincinnati. And then this colossal road trip because of the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a win for some confidence here, whether it be this weekend or Austin coming up. And Chicago hasn't solved the way to figure out winning at home. So why not? Why not this week if you're looking at it from Ronnie Dyla's perspective? And there was some progress after the previous two games in the Nashville game, but they turned off after they scored the goal. And
it's maddening.
Yeah.
It's so maddening to, I mean, we're up in the press box and we're all looking at each other like, I don't know that I've ever seen a team like to where you almost saw the switch flip. They just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And like
it's not supposed to happen in this building, or at least the glory and the precedent that was set in the first 3 years. And everyone's going to harken back to that. And fine. When you come out guns a-blazing, and Chicago can take this many moons ago when you win a championship within your first year of existence, first 2 years of existence, then the bar is set high. And the bar still should be high for what they spend. I know that, blah, blah, blah. So many people have said that. I don't have to tell anybody new here, personnel issues or finding the right fit. There's a winning pedigree in the front office with Lagerwey and Henderson. And Ronnie Dyla's had a winning record everywhere he's been. Eventually you can figure it out, but it's going to look like Miguel Almiron and the way they played in 2018, 2017 going to look the same now with the personnel they have? Probably not. But that's for them to figure it out. And the point I'm trying to get is, at least at home, when I was doing Columbus games, and especially in the first 3 or 4 years, when you would go in there, you were terrified of playing that team at home.
Yep.
Terrified.
Yep.
Even in the games I did last year there, Toronto FC, the miraculous Tiare game at the end. I mean, that was a 1-1 tie. Should have been a 1-1 tie. The Nashville game, Nashville took it to them in that game. And then, of course, we all know you get hot, you go on that great playoff run. I was bullish on thinking they could put it together and do that. But how often in the last 2 or 3 years where like they're playing at home, they've got control of this game, and they're going to ram it down your throat each and every time? It's been a long time since you could say that. And they're still searching for that.
Yeah, and I think that was what was so frustrating about it is, you go – so you're at home, right? You're at home and you go up a goal. And I know I kind of hit on this right before you got on. At that point, you have a decision to make. And you either continue doing exactly what you're doing because it was working. I mean, you were getting the ball at the field, you were getting into the final third.
Mm-hmm.
You continue doing that because now Nashville has to go play. They're going to have to spread out. Or you slow things down but keep possession and then run them out, tire them out, and then play through them. But it never felt like they made a decision on what they wanted to do, and they just kind of started bombing the ball along, losing possession over and over again, and they never really seemed like they, as a team, decided how they wanted to play the game after they went up a goal, because they haven't done that in a handful of matches anyway. So it was like, oh no, we're up. Now what do we do?
Yep.
Right. We must savor this moment of having lead instead of going for the kill shot in the second half. And that, again, is part of forming the identity that Ronnie Dyla wants to put in with this group. I don't think we're at the point where you go full young yet. I mean, because you're still – the East is top-heavy, but realistically, now Atlanta fans are not going to hear this. What are the expectations? It's not just sneaking into a wild card again.
Yeah.
You want to be in a position where you have a home playoff spot. I think that's extremely fair with all the talk about what was built around the personnel or money spent in the attack. But you're still sorting out the midfield. You still got to control the game right in the middle of the park. And that's a multiple choice question each and every week. Regardless of the injuries or just performance, who's best suited to do that? You were talking about Mateusz Klich, who's essentially he's playing out of position. I mean, this guy was 10th in the league last year in chances created. More of a pseudo 10. And he functioned well in the DC system with their press, providing service. He's not going to go box to box endlessly. He's not a willing runner, if you will. That's more work for Schleich to do if he's playing there. You get Jay Fortune in. I like that idea. He's young and hungry. Something to prove. Muyumba, is he healthy again? There's just a lot of who sets the tempo in the middle and protects guys that maybe aren't suited to defend on a regular basis within the front line, and you go from there. I'm not the first person to say this. I mean, a former midfielder who played for the team has been saying that the last couple of weeks in MLS wrap-up. So, but that's the glue, right? That's the glue. Yeah. The reason, not to harken back to 7 or 8 years ago, but the reason an Almiron and a Martinez, who were all-time players in this league, but even a Villalba and an Assad, who were just, so scary. But who did you have in the middle of the park? Arguably the greatest central midfielder the league's ever seen.
Yep.
Nagbe.
Yeah.
Mehdi was excellent, right, in his time. So maybe that's what they need to be addressing come the summer window. You mentioned left winger. Sure, that's always important. But within the fabric, they're creating chances. 107, that's top half of the league. There have been plenty of opportunities to score goals. Now they're mid-pack in shots, so I think they could push the tempo and play a little faster. How do they generate that? Do they press a little bit more? I don't know. The possession buildup. I just feel that they can get a little static with let's swing the cross. I mean, this is a cross-heavy team still, and as long as Lennon's on the roster, they're going to be a cross-heavy team.
Yeah.
I'm presenting more questions than answers. I don't have, that's for my analyst Lloyd Sam to answer. But these are things I see in watching 2 and 3 games throughout this week and building up because. But all you need is the one feel-good moment, and I think that could come in these next 2 games for them.
Yeah. So kind of switching gears, talking about Chicago. Now, I don't know how many matches of Chicago you and Lloyd have called this season, but
we were up in Toronto. Yeah, but it was a while ago, right. Week 4, and they look good. That was in the middle of their 3-game road win streak.
Yeah, so just sort of in that vein, and what's kind of gone wrong for them over the past few weeks? They looked like, hey, they may be able to at least be somewhat competent in the East, which is more than we could say for them over the past several years or over much of the past decade after Schweinsteiger left. But now Berhalter's come in, new staff. He is the not only the head coach, but the technical director. He brought in Bamba. He has Kuipers, several other pieces. Brady is still there, sort of in the U.S. youth discussion. He won't play, obviously, on Saturday. From what you've seen, what's kind of been the thing that's been holding them back? I think he already mentioned that, but what are some of their flaws still?
Well, look, I think they needed an identity. I think the last 2 years they were running adrift, and I love Frank Klopas. He's Mr. Chicago Soccer. Yeah. It was in a placeholder position to where they could really figure out what the hell do we want to be with this team.
Yeah.
So Greg Berhalter, and I have a very great relationship with him, full disclosure, just going back to the Columbus days and what he did to bring the crew into really a new era of playing ball, and that kind of set the course for what they saw with Caleb Porter and now Wilfred Nancy. And then goes into the national team, learns a little bit more, takes some stuff on the chin, comes back. I think he was the perfect hire. And I think that you're seeing the identity of which they want to play. The attack, I think, is very formidable. I mean, Zinkernagel's been great. Bomba's been great. Kuipers is right there in the mix for the Golden Boot. These are guys you have to be concerned with, especially if Stian Gregerson healthy, or you running out Cobb again. I mean, there's concern there. Again, we were just talking about the central midfield and the back four. That's a concern in this game. And I think, look at last game from Chicago. They had 3 bona fide awesome chances in the first 20 minutes of that game. And if it's not for Gillespie standing on his head, they probably win that game. So they're hungry to win at home. They're playing in the Open Cup tonight, and they'll probably have heavy rotation. I think they're solving, again, what is everyone is linking them to De Bruyne. Like, they don't really – that's fine. I mean, he can be a match winner, but they still need the pieces in the midfield, much like Atlanta. I think Orahel's an excellent player, the central midfielder. He's 19 years old. They had 3 homegrowns homering in there, but they're all young, so they're going to be prone to up and down games. And then the center back partnership, Jack Elliott was really good in his partnership with Glesnes in Philadelphia. And he comes in here and he's had to played with a 16-year-old center back last week. And he's been playing with Sam Rogers a lot because Carlos Turan has not been able to stay healthy. Poor guy. And he's an elite. I think he can be an elite center back talent, but he's just never on the field. And he comes back and he got hurt again. So they can't pin that down. And with Greg Berhalter and his system, they press a little bit more now than they did in the Columbus days. The fullback play, you've got the winger cutting inside, the overlap. Barroso's been hurt. I thought he's been an excellent addition. This was all clear cut in the beginning of the season, but it started to develop, and then it trailed off a little bit, and they've let some games slip away at home where they haven't registered the points. So, but there's enough good attacking play in there where I think they can believe in what they're doing, and they're only in phase 1 of kind of getting this thing off the ground under him. So for the first time in a while, if I'm a Fire fan, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged about what the future looks like, and I'm not saying they're a playoff team at this moment right now, but they can be in the mix.
So kind of speaking of Chicago's attack, because we kind of mentioned it also in the beginning, kind of before you got on as well, but like goals are to be had in this game, I think. Both games. It should be.
I love a 4-3 game.
Yeah, 100%. It's got all the makings of y'all are going to be very busy. As far as Atlanta is concerned with their center backs, I mean, Stian more than likely not going to be healthy by that point. I think really he would, if I'm not mistaken, Sydney, correct me if I'm wrong, but probably the only one for sure out. I mean, we'll find out Friday, but Muyumba may be back.
Yeah.
By that point.
Yeah.
So last week it was Derek Williams and Luis Abram. So you got 2 of the veteran guys. You got Noah Cobb there waiting in the wings. We talk about the youth, the young, hungry guys. In your opinion, you put your coach hat on for a minute, and from what you've seen out of Noah and then the other guys, do you put Noah over Derek, who's kind of struggled this season, and leave Luis out there as that other vet, or do you try to run out the vets again and make sure they can use that experience against Chicago?
Well, a game like this, when I think you're dealing with a formidable attack like Chicago, I'd be prone, if I'm especially going on the road, if I'm Ronnie Dyler, maybe prone to leaning on the veterans. But again, that hasn't really found much success for you. And I just think they need to be more of the aggressor in terms of they've got enough veteran players, at least in terms of Chicago's youth, to control the midfield. Can they get that right and control that? And then even if you throw Cobb out there with Abram or a Williams, that probably wouldn't pair right with the footing. Then I think you could.
Well, Derek's actually, I think, naturally left-footed too. So it kind of
Derek and Cobb. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like Cobb's a veteran of the league. Who knows? That's his choice to make. I would go with the veteran partnership, though, if you were asking me point blank, just because Kuipers is a handful and he's getting good service, and there's just a lot of moving parts there. And while Cobb's got a lot going for him in the future and the leadership qualities, again, prone to mistakes. I'm looking at some of the stuff in the Orlando and the Philadelphia games, right? Like maybe you rely on that. That's not to say your veterans aren't going to make a mistake, but if you can grip the game a little bit better in the middle of the park and then free up your pieces, then I think you can go at Chicago's defense and start being the aggressor and ask them questions, even if you're on the road, because that's what people have been waiting to see of this team. This is a good time to prove it. Have you gone to school and watched what Orlando and Nashville have done the last couple of games? Be direct if you have to be. You don't always have to be so dedicated to the wide play and the cross, and sometimes you got to go with what's going to get you the result. And can you do that over the course of the 90 minutes? So that might be the game to do it going into this weekend.
So kind of taking a wider lens view of MLS. Obviously, I have to ask you about the Crew. You've been associated with the Crew for a number of years before MLS season pass kicked in, but Nancy continues to win with the Crew.
Yeah.
Vancouver in the Champions Cup final. Jesper Sorensen has come in and just done a tremendous job with that club. So outside of those teams, I guess who is it? You can throw Philly in there too, but outside of those three teams I just mentioned, and granted, I don't think the Crew is a surprise, but Vancouver certainly is. Philadelphia is to some extent. Who else has kind of surprised you in MLS in the sense where they've overperformed where you thought they would, or underperformed where you thought they would?
Well, great question. I think everyone wants to, I don't think, I knew it was going to be a struggle for the Galaxy with Pooch out, but I didn't think he was that much of a lifeblood where they would be this bad. And essentially their season could be toast, by within the next couple of weekends. All these teams now have midweek matches coming up and schedule congestion. And, that's the unfair nature of what your record says you are. I don't think Montreal doesn't have the personnel, but that's one of Atlanta's 2 wins, as you know, in the first game of the season. But I think they've been playing pretty darn good ball, for what they have. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win 3 or 4 in a row. It's maybe unjust that they are also winless in 11. I think in the East, if I'm looking at a disappointment with Atlanta just being the headline name based off of what they spent and what they had in terms of galvanizing momentum after last season and the big playoff upset and getting to the conference semifinal. New York, the Red Bulls, just because I think Sandro Schwartz has some great ideas, and I think he's implemented them, but they've gone from this cagey pressing team that really controls the game with the ball or without the ball to we're going to pass it around, and yet we've got 2 older front runners. Lewis Morgan's been hurt. They've been the biggest disappointment in watching them in recent games, and I've got several of them coming up. So, if Morgan comes back, does that change a little bit? So that's kind of where I would put it at in the East, because I thought Cincy and Columbus had competitive squads coming in. Everyone looks at Philly and Bradley Carnell, but it's a similar roster to what he had in the way they want to play their identity to year 1 in St. Louis. And those pieces have fit really, really well. Miami's obviously Miami. In the West, Minnesota, while they've come back to earth a little bit and they had the 8-game unbeaten run for basically sacrificing the ball for the majority of a game. And to do it with the 2 strikers that they have, and Oluwaseyi and Yeboah. Yeboah's been a little more quiet recently, and Oluwaseyi's been the one that's a little bit more informed. That was a big win for them coming back in Austin after the disappointing loss against Vancouver at home. So I don't think we've seen Seattle at their best, but Minnesota is one of those teams that I think there's enough depth and personnel there, and I think once they recognized a former Atlanta United player, Julian Gressel, could really add a little bit to our service here and how we go from defense to attack. So they're one to keep an eye on that I think could be in play. LAFC and Seattle the last couple of weeks have shown a little bit of flash, more to what I think people expect them to be. And you always talk about them in the vein of being in the top 4 or 5 in the East. And, I go back and forth because I've seen Colorado switch to this formation. They're all right. It's classic MLS. It's MLS 500. You hang around there and you're feeling pretty good about yourselves. We were just talking about New England coming on, and I think New England and Charlotte are like a tier below maybe the top 3 or 4, but now as they start to build their identities a little bit more under year 2 of their coaches, then I think that, they're possibly one to see maybe surprise, especially come playoff time. And those first round series aren't given if you even if you have home field advantage. So that's the fun part about it. I know the East is clearly right now the stronger of the two. That's really if you have a pulse and have watched the league this season, I think you can deduct that with some sound reasoning. But I think there's a lot still at stake and to play for outside of maybe the 3 teams that can pinpoint themselves going for the Shield right now, because just like in a classic case of MLS Cup, I think it's wide open for the taking this year.
Yeah, I think quickly Miami, of course, Mascherano comes in for Tata. Of course, they're coming off the playoff loss to Atleti in that last year. I mean, they've been to the mix, but they've taken obviously kind of crashed out in the Champions Cup, blew out the Red Bulls the other day. Yeah. Is it safe to say that they're quote unquote back, or do you think they'll be a step behind what they were last year? How do you see things shaking out with them?
No, look, they are a wise team with the pieces they have to know, like they essentially got played off the field by Vancouver.
Yeah.
That second leg, they got beat in their own barn badly.
Yeah.
And the wisdom to come back and to hammer the Red Bulls, they'll be in the conversation. I think right now, the way things are going with Vancouver, Columbus, Miami are those 3 stud horses that could make a push for 75 points in the regular season. And the fact that Vancouver is even in that conversation with the fact that they've played 8 and soon to be 9 Champions Cup games is incredible.
Yeah.
So Miami, look, when you have that personnel, I don't care how old they are, there's enough young pieces running around. Now they've shown tendencies to be a little bit gappy again, and there's some things to open up and unlock after we're a third of the way into the season. But, ask Columbus how they feel about that. They've looked better of the 2 the last couple of times they've played, and they've lost. So they can beat anybody, and they don't have to be at their best. They just need that guy who's wearing 10 to do something, and he usually does.
Yeah.
Neil, real quick, before we get you out of here, I know you got to run. How locked in are you on the ongoing Open Cup?
The U.S. Open Cup?
Yeah.
Wow. I really did adore this competition for such a long time. I've had so many this year. It's been tough because of the logistics of my situation, doing like 2 and 3 games a weekend. So I've just been so tied into that, and I will graze over, I think, maybe some of the highlights because I have New York City and Montreal this weekend too. So I'll be New York City's got a game also tonight in the Open Cup. Chicago, I mentioned, is playing Detroit City. So
it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, it will be. And I think it's great. I think, again, I like the fact that, it's America's national championship. And while it doesn't stick well with a lot of the supporters groups that sometimes you've got your senior team and sometimes you've got your next pro team in the mix here, it still brings a lot of pageantry. And I know even how reverential people talked about that in Columbus with it being the first piece of hardware. Atlanta United fans know this because it was another major trophy in 2019. So it should be celebrated. And I think that you want to get back to the point where I think all the senior teams play in it, but we've got so much of the fixture congestion right now. And who knows what the long-term plans will be with the Leagues Cup and going on with that. But I'm a U.S. Open Cup fan, so I'll keep an eye on it after these results from last night. I saw all the MLS teams won from last night. But it's I've been going MLS over MLS over MLS. So
I know. Well, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, New York City at halftime 0-0. So nobody's broken through there. And then your other game, your Chicago game is about to kick off here in a minute. So
there was a comment here about the. Now I heard this on the telecast. Nate Bukaty did the game last week, the Atlanta United Nashville game, talking about the Polish celebration. But I think that was last weekend in Chicago.
Okay.
We're clear with that. So
yeah, because the Polish midfield pairing.
Convenient timing.
We'll have to ask Slish.
They won't be pierogi filled, and
he apparently lost a bet of some sort because he had to wear in the locker room at the training ground like a United States like flag towel or something and say that he was like second best or something. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be in a great mood come Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. Well, I'm hoping it's an exciting game at both teams. Obviously, when you have a little bit of desperation at this stage of the season, because we're closer to the middle of the season than we are, as you know, the beginning of it. So it's time to make hay. Let's get this show on the road, and maybe it's an entertaining one for the neutral fan. And I know both fan bases are hoping that their teams kind of get out of this funk that they're in.
Yeah, exactly.
For real. Well, Neil, we appreciate you coming on, man. As always,
always great to be with you guys. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Tommy owes me one next time.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure he knows good and well. Like he screwed up. So who cares about the grass? Like they could have waited.
Save it till next week.
Yeah. Be well, guys. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. We'll see you.
You too. Take care, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Neil Sika. So we have to really quickly tell the story because we have so many more viewers than we did really about this time last year. I think it was.
Yeah.
We found out last year when I told Tommy and Sydney, hey, this week Neil Sika is getting on.
Right.
Tommy was like, wait, who?
Yeah.
I was like, Neil Sika. And he's like, that's my eye doctor.
It turns out that's Neil's father.
Yeah, that's Neil. So Neil's dad in Cleveland is Tommy's eye doctor.
Yeah.
So last year they got to talk all kinds of Cleveland stuff. It was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tommy missed it for his stupid grass.
I know. Well, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
It's a good time. I always enjoy talking to Neil too, because he dives into so many details.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the league in and out, which is awesome. So
yeah, and you mentioned knows Berhalter from Berhalter's time with the Crew. So they've been a bit of that good relationship, even as Berhalter went to the national team now in Chicago, who we mentioned are playing in Open Cup. So that's another wrinkle that we didn't quite talk about the other day or earlier today is, I'm sure they'll be rotated. It's a rotated lineup. And I haven't seen if Brady's playing in that game. I would imagine he is, since he won't play against Atlanta United. But you have to imagine it is not a rotated, or it is a rotated lineup.
So, you have Brady. I'll give you because the lineup's out now. You got Brady in goal. You have Glasgow, Rogers, Elliott. You got Andrew Gutman playing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bamba, Kuipers. So really first choice for Berhalter. So that's
kinda
interesting.
Wild, actually.
Yeah. So question is, does he rotate against Atlanta? We know Brady won't play because of his red card in the MLS match, but does he rotate or does he keep as is? Does he trot this lineup out again or most of them again on Saturday against Atlanta, knowing that, hey, they're winless in their last 6. They need to get points in MLS in a hurry or they'll fall farther behind. So a little surprised that Berhalter went with her relatively first choice 11 against Detroit City. Does it kind of bite him in the rear end come Saturday?
It's really
interesting to see what
go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say interesting what the lineup selection is on Saturday.
Yeah,
this match.
It's really crazy to me because this is kind of what I was waiting for. Like obviously knowing that these matches kick off during our show, to give everybody if they don't know, Detroit City is a legit good football team, and they also are masters of the dark arts. If you're an Atlanta fan, you need to be a Detroit City fan tonight, and especially with Berhalter trotting out this kind of lineup. They can't afford to take this into extra time. They can't afford to go to 120 minutes or penalties or whatever. But Detroit could absolutely push them, and I think maybe Detroit's run of form is probably part of the reason. Berhalter now Berhalter, to be fair, he values the Open Cup. I think we know that from the past. But just to give you a quick rundown, all right, Detroit's recent matches, they drew Indy 11 2-2 Saturday, and then going back from there, they beat the Riverhounds. They beat Rhode Island 2-0. They beat Westchester 3-1. Phoenix Rising 3-2. They drew Monterey Bay. They were beat by Louisville City. They drew Birmingham. They beat Colorado Springs.
So they've lost just once in U.S. Open. They've lost just once in the USL Championship play.
They've lost once, and then you go all the way back to February 8th. That was the last time that they lost.
Yeah.
They're a good soccer team, and they're going to give Chicago something to think about.
Well, that was a friendly, but they're still but they're fourth in the championship right now. So this is a very formidable team that Chicago is playing. And again, definitely lends credence to why Berhalter went with her first choice 11 against Detroit City, because Detroit has nothing to lose. And if they can get an upset win or a cup set against a Midwestern Derby partner, that'll be massive for them. They know what it takes to win this competition. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So in the MLS sphere, to give you guys a quick rundown, head-to-head, Atlanta's 8 wins, Chicago's 5 wins. There's been 3 draws between these two sides going back to the OG, but it doesn't feel that way.
It seems like every time they go to Chicago, something weird happens. Like, I remember they won the 1 year I went up, they're in Bridgeview, but then they just got the doors blown off of them. They was 5-0. LGP got sent off. It was 5-1 or 6-0 or something like that. LGP got a red card early.
Yep.
Like a few years ago, they fought back for a draw. Last year, I think they lost, if I'm not mistaken. But Soldier Field, say it again.
Year, I think they drew in Chicago last year.
Soldier Field, though, has not been friendly to Atlanta United since the Fire moved out there. 2023, the match I was just mentioning, 3-3, both teams got a red card. 2024, goalless draw. And then going back even further, 2022, goalless draw up there. Then 2021, 3-0 loss up there in Chicago. So, not a friendly spot, Soldier Field, for Atlanta United over the past several years. Have to go back several years to find the last time they've won in that city. So,
yeah, it is.
Do they break the streak on Saturday?
It would be nice. I'm going back looking at that 5-1 game. That was a crazy one.
Yeah,
Brandon Vasquez scored a penalty.
Yeah, only redeeming thing for that match. But yeah, that was wild. But yeah, I mean, they've not had a great history against this team. And, Chicago Open Cup, Atlanta United does not. So fixture congestion will be in play. And yeah, let's see if Atlanta United can take care of that. Let's see if they can take care of this backup goalkeeper. Again, Brady, of course, is out. So their backup goalkeeper is, I forget his name.
Why you pull that up? I know what it was last year. Because Omar said they drew, but it felt like a loss. Last year, that was when Tommy had to shave his beard. Because he was like, this is the game where it all gets right.
Yeah.
And then we were doing the watch along, and it was a draw.
Yeah, that was it. But Jeff Gall is their backup goalkeeper. Signed with the team last year. Signed with Chicago. He is a Chicago native. Has experience in Sweden and Europe. So he came in last year. Only 1 appearance with the first team. 20 appearances, though, with Chicago Fire 2, I believe. Or he's been used primarily at Chicago Fire 2. So we'll see. Does he look like prime, Tyler, prime Tim Howard? Or does he look like Jeff Gall?
I mean, it seems to be, I think Henry put it in our chat earlier, but
yeah,
it seems to be that goalkeepers just tend to have the match of their lives against Atlanta United.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what this game, though, is going to come down to is if Atlanta can test the goalkeeper, period. And I know that's like such a simple, stupid, like John Madden-esque thing to say. Like, all they got to do is score here. No, like, you've got to create chances. You have to put their back line under pressure. Neil was just talking about it. They're leaky, just as Atlanta has been. On the flip side of that, Atlanta hasn't been creating many chances.
Yeah.
Especially considering their attack. And I'm curious to see how Ronnie Dyla tells this team to play. Because, again, Neil mentioned it, teams tend to just play over the top. And I think when you see the way that Chicago has played and how poor they are at defending and aerial duels and things like that, there's nothing wrong with trying to play over the top. Now, you can't just do it for 90 minutes. Like, you're not going to sit there and bomb the ball over and over again. But this is where, Latte Loft can use his ups and his speed. And, Miggy can use his speed to get around guys. Moranchuk is going to have time to pick out the right pass. So you've got a lot going for you if you just play it out right and you trot out you don't have to change a lot with the lineup.
Yeah.
But you can't go into it and halfway through the match just turn off. Like, give me 90 minutes of freaking soccer, whether you win or not.
No, exactly. Perfectly well, of course, but like we said earlier, this team hasn't done it. This team has not played 90-minute soccer at all this season. It's troubling. 11 matches in, about to be 12. We're still talking about a lady that hasn't played 90 minutes of full soccer. That's a problem. But that's a mentality problem that they needed to change a long time ago, but for whatever reason, they haven't. And like I mentioned the other day on a reaction podcast, that falls on not just the players, that falls on Ronnie Dyla. Everyone has to take ownership and say, hey, this isn't good enough. We haven't played to our standard. We haven't played 90 minutes at all this season. And it's hurt us so many times this year. They have to do it against Chicago. You're going on the road. You have a long road trip coming up this summer, the Open Cup. You need to get wins any way you can. Hey, if you nick a 1-0 win against a backup keeper, I'll take it. It's the same as a 3-0 win. It's the same as a 4-3 win. It's the same as a 5-4 win. As long as you have more points, more goals than the other team, you win. Doesn't matter how pretty or how ugly it is. Do whatever you can. Just get a win. Get an own goal. Nick one at the very last minute. You got to get something. You got to get something.
Yeah, for sure. For everything I just said about Chicago and Detroit, Chicago is now leading 7 minutes in off of Hugo Kuiper's goal in the 4th minute. So somebody out there is not cheering for the right team. But no, I agree with you. I think I don't care how you win. Michael Parker said it when I had that chat with him the other day. It might take a handful of ugly, gritty, just awful looking wins, but they're wins. You leapfrog a couple of teams in the standings. You're starting to get some confidence. Things start going your way. I know we say it a lot, but sometimes that's all a team needs. I'm going to keep using the New England Revolution as an example. Now, are they going to go and win MLS Cup? I don't think so.
Be nice.
In MLS, so you never know.
Yeah.
But they were terrible. And they just finally made one tweak that got them right. And now they're on a run. So you start winning games and a lot of this crap goes away for a lot of reasons. But the biggest thing is that it builds confidence and it gets fans excited again. So I don't care how you do it, man. I don't care how you do it. Just go win the game.
It. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I was about to say predictions time. Let me make sure what I say
predicting to win
is going into the same thing I said in Discord. I said a 1-1 draw.
So you think it's a draw?
I think it's a 1-1 draw. But please win the game. Please make me wrong.
Who scores?
Latte Lot.
Who scores the goal? Latte Lot. I think Miggy scores again. I think it's 1-0 Atlanta. I think you able to nick one, and I think you're able to eventually see it out. What you weren't able to do against Nashville, but I think you come out a little more aggressive, ready to play the entire match. I don't know why they did. I don't know why they turned things off, after they scored. But hopefully, I mean, they've learned from it and they come out and say, hey, we can't sit on this lead. We have to go out, like you said, test the keeper, test Jeff Gall, and make him work. He's not had that much experience in MLS, I don't think. So make him work, make him uncomfortable. They haven't been able to do that to really consistently in 2025. You have to do it against the Fire. Chris Brady won't be available. Chris Brady has been shaky, not the keeper he was over the past couple of years, but you won't have him available. You play a tired team, a team that just will be coming off Open Cup. So punish them. But outside of that, just win. I think 1-0 will be the scoreline for Atlanta United. Miguel Marón scoring again.
I like
Make
it.
Back.
So Tommy changed his at the last minute. He said 2-1 Atlanta. Gray said 2-1 Atlanta. Henry's got a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got Jackson's in yet.
Jackson is TBD. Jackson's TBD.
He's waiting for that injury report.
Fair enough.
He's a very smart fantasy soccer player.
Fair enough. If you all are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, definitely follow us there. But post your predictions to our social media. Scarves, Lillard, and Spikes on X. We're on Blue Sky. So search Scarves and Spikes. We're on Threads, Facebook. So post your predictions there. We want to know what you think. We see people post live in the chat all the time on YouTube. If you're watching afterwards, definitely leave yours in the comment section as well. Definitely like, subscribe, and share our content. We say that all the time. We don't want this to be just us. This is all about you. So definitely tell your friends, tell everyone you know about us. Even if you aren't an Atlanta United fan, even if you're neutral, be sure to spread the word and tell people about us and help us grow. We really do appreciate it.
For sure.
Post those predictions.
With that being said,
on social media.
With that being said, Victory saying it's a win. Doesn't know how, but it's a win. Brooke said 2-1 Atlanta. Derek 2-1 loss. Omar saying 4-0 Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's all over the place because nobody knows what to expect. But I do think there will be goals in this game for sure.
After you said 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
There will be goals.
Yeah, 0-0.
Literally, there will be goals. There will be more than one goal.
Yeah. Plural. Gotta add that S in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean if it's 2 or 10.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Final thoughts. Anything? Brett saying 4-1 Atlanta. Jay with a hat trick. Let's go.
I got nothing. I think I've said all I need to say. What about you?
Yeah, me too. Kareem saying 2-1. Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to go see this team play, like I said, 90 minutes of freaking good soccer. Just give me something. Give the fans something to hold on to. Don't give them something to hold on to and then snatch it away 5 minutes later by turning off entirely.
Yeah.
Go have fun, man. Just go have fun.
Make it fun to watch, too.
Yeah.
I'm tired of watching losses. Just win.
Yes.
Please.
All right. With that, I do believe that is it. We will see you guys. It's an early kickoff again. It's 2:30 on Saturday.
2:30 or 2:45.
Well, the website says 2:30, which I think that means that kickoff will be like 2:38 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. You never know.
First game of the weekend. So.
Yeah, we'll have a pre-match show at 1:30 though.
Yeah.
Regardless, we'll take you through the lineups and give our final thoughts before Atlanta United takes on the Chicago Fire. So join us on YouTube, X, Facebook, streaming live. And again, like, subscribe, share our content. We definitely appreciate your support of Scarves and Spikes. And go to the website as well, scarvesandspikes.com.
And shout out to Sweetwater Brew for their partnership, for everything they do. I saw a lot of people were talking about the beer earlier.
Yeah.
Go get you. If you haven't tried the gummy beer, go try it. It's really good. Just drink
responsibly.
One's all you need.
Don't go overboard.
Yeah. No, thank you to Sweetwater, and thank you all of y'all for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you, Neil Sika.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, everyone. A lot of thank yous.
Yes. And y'all go give Tommy a hard time for cutting his grass. And I guess go give Henry some congratulations for graduating from
Yes.
college.
Big deal.
No, it really is. Super excited for him. But go poke at him a little bit. Poke at him a lot.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know. I can't believe it's been that long since college days.
It's been longer for me.
Yeah.
Much longer. Henry wasn't born when I was in college.
Well, you know what?
I'll just say
The fact
that.
that you were man enough to just come out and say that is pretty impressive. Father time is unbeaten.
Yes.